Welcome to the LRA's Capitol Connections Update. I'm your host, Will Dubose. Before we dive into Week 3, I'd like to recap all that we accomplished in Week 2. And let me tell y'all, it was a lot. As I mentioned in the previous episode, we were monitoring two identical bills that dealt with surcharges at retail establishments. These bills were heard together in House Commerce on Tuesday. Well, our monitor position quickly changed to oppose when the bill's author added an amendment to cap surcharges at 2% or the actual cost of the transaction, whichever is less. As you know, surcharges are used to offset swipe fees that credit card companies charge businesses, and statutorily capping that amount at 2% would mean an automatic loss to the business. Very proud of our team. We were instrumental in defeating those bills, coordinating with multiple pro-business legislators on that committee. We also defeated a bill in House Commerce that sought to require cash payment options at businesses, and I think I mentioned this bill last episode. While several legislators noted that they prefer to use cash when they're able, they wouldn't want the government requiring them to accept it at their own businesses. In addition to defeating these bills, several positive bills dealing with insurance reform made it through the first step of the legislative process. Rather than recap those insurance measures here, I will bring on a guest at the end of the month to cover the insurance initiative taking shape in the legislature. A quick note, last episode I mentioned a bill that we are opposing dealing with liability of bars who serve underage patrons who then suffer injury, death, or damages. This bill did not receive a committee hearing as we had anticipated. After discussions with the author, she has decided not to move that piece of legislation. I'm not quite ready to put that one to bed yet for the rest of the session, but it's definitely got its pajamas on, so hopefully we'll be tucking that one in pretty soon. This week, we'll be dealing with an abbreviated schedule as lawmakers get ready to spend some much-needed time away from the Capitol and with their families for Easter. Before the break, however, we do have a few bills that we are monitoring, supporting, and opposing. House and Senate Labor are both expected to meet for the first time this session. House Labor will have a shortened agenda, and of note to us is a scheduled presentation by the Workers' Compensation Research Institute. The WCRI is a national workers' comp think tank that will provide information to the committee and hopefully set the stage for much-needed reform efforts coming down the line this session, and that's a big part of our package that we're pushing for the LRA this year. If you have any questions about the legislative process and how our agenda is progressing, please do not hesitate to email me at will@lra.org. This has been the second Capitol Connections update from the LRA headquarters in Metairie. Please tune in next week to hear the most up-to-date news of how the LRA advocacy team is fighting for you in Baton Rouge. I'm your host, Will Dubose, wishing everyone a safe spring break and a happy Easter holiday.